Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Behind the Slot. Today, I've got Rahul from Conquest Racing. He is the organizer of Global Racing League, also one of many hosts of YouTube channels such as Tabletop Board Gaming and Camera Reviews and Slot Cars, obviously. A man of many talents, the Raging Bull himself. Help me welcome Rahul Pereira to Behind the Slots. Rahul, thank you for being here.
Hey,
How's it going?
what's up, everybody? Big introduction, but that's good. Thank you.
I try. Um,
Yeah.
so the last time we spoke, or actually the first time we spoke, I was really taken aback with how much you know and how much stuff that you're actually involved in with the Global Racing League, with your previous YouTube channels or the ones that are still going on for tabletop racing and tabletop wargaming and camera reviews now. So, I mean, so slot car racing is not, as far as the YouTube channel goes, it's not your first rodeo. Take us back a little. How did you get to this point? I mean, how did you get to the point where I'm watching a video of you live streaming and you're saying, hey, this is the last live stream I'm doing. I've done a whole year. I set my goal and now bye, guys. And I was like, I just got here. What's going on? Bring us back a bit.
Um, yeah, so all right. It's funny because I actually have a pretty good rail racing channel, CGR Performance,
Yeah.
which is actually my performance shop, but that was more organic. Like I never actually did any of the content on that. We just used to mount GoPros on our race cars and take footage, and then I had my partner in my business in the performance business. He used to post it all the time. I never really paid much attention to it. Actually, I never had any interest in cameras at all at that time. Um, I was just into racing and cars, so I never really took interest in YouTube. But we already had a YouTube presence initially through CGR Performance. But I don't know, for some reason, at the end of 2019, this is just before the pandemic hit and stuff, um, I got I was starting to get curious about videography and photography. So, and this is, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about cameras, nothing about lenses, not about ISO and XYZ, and you
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I didn't know any of it. And I bought my first camera for Christmas for myself. It was an M50 Canon.
Nice.
And like everything in my in life, I got the camera, I took one look at it, and I was like, this is too much, and I put it away. And At that time, I had my own club in my house where we used to train. I used to train like the best players in AOS, Age of Sigma, which is a tabletop game. We used to have our own club, and we used to have tournaments, and we used to have meetings on Monday nights. And I said, you know what? I want to live stream this out.
Okay. And
I
this
want to
is
live stream our games.
like happening like you're going to the shop, performance shop, and at night you're hanging out playing
Oh
AOS.
no, I had my performance shop on the side. I worked as an engineer in the brake industry for Brembo Hawk. I worked for NewCap, which was the world's largest supplier of brakes
Oh wow.
globally,
Okay.
and I was their R&D slash digital marketing manager. We had a bunch of technologies that we used to bring out to market. So I working there full time. I had my performance shop part time, and I was doing this wargaming as well. At that time, I was ranked number one in Canada. I had represented Canada a whole bunch. I think I was 10th in the world, number one in Canada at that time. There's a global ranking, international ranking, and so I was very competitive. I had built a following of people that used to come to my house and we should practice and train because obviously we should take it very seriously. We should go to a lot of tournaments around the world competing.
Wow.
So at this time I was like, you know what? And this is, I was just like, I want to broadcast on Monday night games because I used to have a main table, and I was like, it'd be great to live stream this out.
Yeah.
And so I picked up a Vixia 800. It was a little camcorder, and that's what I started with. So it was a camcorder, a webcam that was an overhead webcam, and I bought those those mics that you put on conference tables.
Yeah, yeah.
I bought one of those. I hung it up, and then I was like, how do I get all this into my computer? And that's when I discovered Ecamm, and I started to live stream. And we did that for a bit. I think I had about 200. Actually, that channel is what is the basis for Conquest Racing Club, because that channel was called Conquest Gaming Club.
Okay.
And later, and so I did it for about a year, but then the pandemic hit and people fell off, and you couldn't meet as groups, right? So it kind of fell apart. And at that time, I started to get into cameras a lot, and I started to buy more cameras. So at a certain point, my live streams for my tabletop gaming became very hardcore because I had two like DSLRs as well as the overhead cameras, and I slowly started to build. I had mics now. I had like lavalier mics and hookups. So I'd learned all this over the year. But like I said, I was already very ingrained in the wargame community, so it was easy for me to broadcast. And then it all went away, right? Not only that, but everything. Like I had to sell my performance shop earlier than that because I got sick, and then I had switched my jobs to the trade show industry, and that fell apart. So
Oh my God.
everything, and like in a span of like 3 months, everything just melted away, and I was left with nothing. Um, and I still wanted to pursue something in YouTube, but I didn't know what kind of content to create or and not really YouTube. I just wanted to learn cameras. Like I said, I was into the cameras and I wanted to become better. I thought like, well, this would be an avenue. Maybe I become a videographer or photographer, but I needed to train and practice, right?
Yeah.
And I was like I said, I was always into cars, so I thought I would be actually an event photographer for the racing series that I used to race at.
Okay.
So that was my whole goal. But in order for me to become good at shooting cars, I needed to shoot cars, right?
Yeah.
But we're in a pandemic, everything was locked down. So the first thing I did was I joined Content Creator Academy. Um, I think it was I forget the name of it now. But anyway, the first thing they said was a 10-day challenge. They said you have to put 10 videos out in 10 days, each one of them being of a different format.
Okay, that's
So
pretty
one
cool.
would be talking head, one would be like vlogging, one would be like with B-roll and footage, one would be a tutorial. So that's what I did. I did a 10-day challenge. I'm actually one of the few people to complete the 10-day challenge, and you can actually see that 10-day challenge on my own YouTube channel called Raul Pereira. It's just my full name. So it's on YouTube. So I did that, and at the end of the 10-day challenge, they said, well, you got to pick a niche in order for you to become good, you gotta pick a niche. And I was like, well, I don't want to shoot cars. So, and it was the pandemic time, and I had already owned a slot car track for a very long time by that point. I had bought my slot car track in 2008. I had a couple of cars. I was a car buff, so I had picked up cars, obviously. So I had about 37 cars, and I had, I think, about 100 feet of track.
Okay.
So I set up this track and I was like, okay, this will be my subject. This will be my subject matter. And I decided I'll launch a slot car company, slot car channel, and Mini Z because I was into Mini Z too. I have my own Mini Z track,
Okay.
so I was like, okay, that's my channel, Mini Z and slot car racing, and I'll do that,
There
right?
you go. And
So
what year was
when
that?
I that was 2022
Okay.
January,
Okay.
right? So that's when I launched. I'd been watching Travis. I watched MP. I'd watched Pete, and I'd watched Slot Car Racing out in UK as well.
Okay.
And so I'd seen them do like their car reviews, and I'd seen them like open up boxes, and I was like, I can do that. I can unbox cars and talk about cars because I came from a car background and I
Yeah.
kind of understood all that, and I knew racing. So I said, okay, I'm gonna try and do this, but I wanted to be really good at the video part of it, right? I wanted to push the envelope. Um, so yeah, I launched the channel. My goal, as I told you, I have goals.
Yeah.
My goal was to get 1,000 subscribers in my first year, and do one video every week. So 52 videos and see if I could get 1,000 subscribers. That was my goal for 2022.
And we reached that
So
goal,
that's what
no?
I did. Hmm?
And you reached that goal. I say we, but I mean,
I
because
didn't.
but you reached
I
that goal.
actually didn't reach that goal. I
No?
didn't reach the goal. My first year, I released 52 videos. Actually, I released 60 videos total.
Okay. Check one.
Um, and but I only hit 500 and something subscribers. So halfway. At the end of the year, I sat down and I looked back and said, okay, did I enjoy myself doing this? I did. It was great. But I felt my track was small and boring. After a while, after shooting for a year, I just felt my first track, which was called the DDT, and I used to keep track of all my cars and all my stats on the website.
Mm-hmm.
So after the first year, I was like, oh, this is, I've done 52 videos. I didn't hit 1,000. I got 550. I said, you know what? I'll give it one more year, but I need to add something else. What else can I add to my channel this year? So that was in 2023. I said, I'll do a live stream every week. That was the goal. So now I said, I'll do one video a week and one live stream a week. And I'll do it for another 52 weeks. And we'll see if we hit 1,000 subscribers. Great. That's it. That's all I had in my mind. I didn't know I was going to meet the community. At this point, I had no interaction with the community whatsoever. I had met Massimo because I know so I'll backtrack just a little bit.
Sure.
I started my channel in January. In March, I wrote an email to Travis and Massimo saying, I'm new channel, I just launched. I'd love to get your feedback, and I sent them a video, and they both responded right away. Actually, Travis called me through Instagram, so that's Lockout guy. He called me and we had a chat, and
Nice.
I was like, "This is amazing!" Like, these guys are like super huge. Like, what do they care? And then Massimo emailed me and said, "Oh, I go to Ernie's Scale Racing Center." I'm like, "That's in Toronto." I was like, "Oh, okay." I never heard of Scale Racing Center before that. So I decided to go down there, and I went down there and I checked it out. And then guess who was there? Like we went upstairs to the wood track, and they were running a race, and Massimo was in the corner videoing. And I just waved at him and waved at me, and that's our first interaction. And I left, right? And then I messaged him and said, I saw you at Ernie's, and he's like, yeah, I saw you too. And I said, I would love for you to come over, you know. And that's how my relationship with Massimo began, and we are great friends today. Like, I try to be like, we live in the same city. We interact really well. We've hung out a bit. We've raced together. It's been a great journey, right? But
Awesome.
that was my first year, and then the second year, which was last year, I added the live streams, and that's when the community, I started to get to know the people in community. So, the Fingers and Marty and George and um, Marty just launched his live stream actually 1 week before I decided to launch my live stream. So he took Tuesdays and I took Mondays.
Okay.
It was really funny. And in the beginning, it was nerve wracking because doing a live stream about a subject that really I didn't feel I had anything to offer to the subject of slot cars. I still don't think I have anything to offer to the subject of slot cars in terms of a hobby side of things.
I think there's a
Um,
lot of people who would disagree, me being one of them. I've learned a lot from your channel. Actually, there's so much from your channel. I need to put aside time to be like, okay, today I'm going to attack Rahul and at least watch 2 to 3 videos because there's just you put out so much content. So
yeah,
just
but that's not the hobby side of things,
yeah.
right? Let's if we want to be real, like I dabbled in a little bit of tuning. I dabble in a little bit of maybe construction in the MDF. I dabble in, but I love to paint and I love to airbrush and I
Hmm.
love to do all these things, right? And those just come natural to me. But when it comes to really understanding slot cars and making them fast and making them like smooth, and I'm not Marty, I'm not Darren Hall, I'm not John Albright. I couldn't tell you the ins and outs. I'm not Ernie Mozzetti, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not any of these people. What I do, I think I tell the story for the car. That's what really I want to do. I let the car tell its story on the track. And that's what I bring
Okay.
to the table
Yeah.
because I love to see these cars in motion, but not at the speed that they run where it's impossible to see them. I like to capture them and slow them down so you can actually see what they're doing. One thing I learned from racing is it's not about how fast you are, it's about how smooth you are, what lines you take, and how aggressive you can approach the line, right? So breaking points, etc. And I love to see that in the cars themselves. How far can I take this car before it breaks loose? How far can I do things? So that's what I enjoy capturing on video, and that's why my slow motion was so important to me. Because when I can slow that car down to 1,000 frames per second, I can see everything.
Okay.
You
That's
can see the bobbing of the car. You can see the car shaking around. You can see the tires moving out around.
yeah.
You know,
Like the
so
like their last Ferrari video, the Iron Dames. I think I watched it like 10 times on my own. And I was just
yeah.
like, this is great. And we were talking about it before, and you were saying the new cameras and the angles you wanted to capture. I think you really got that. You got some really nice shots in there. So I guess it's perfect because it brings me into my next question. What is the hardest thing about filming slot cars? Let's talk about that.
Oh, I think the hardest thing about filming slot cars, there's nothing hard about filming slot cars. There's is it's I think I don't look at a slot car as a slot car. I look at it as a racing car.
Okay. Well, what's your biggest
And
challenge then?
so Massimo is very natural in how he shoots cars.
Mm-hmm.
So he shoots angles that if you watch people's videos, like many people will shoot very far away from the track and you can capture the car, but that's really looks like a toy car. But when Massimo shoots, he's down at track level. He's giving you that kind of F1 experience where the cars are going by you at speed. Like that comes naturally to Massimo. I've watched Massimo shoot. He's very natural at that. I'm not. I was not as natural. I'm getting much better, but because I love slow motion, I capture it at a much less rate, so a much slower pace. Sometimes I wonder if my shots are too slow, but I'm working on that. As you can see from the videos that are coming out recently,
Mm-hmm.
I'm working at balance of slow motion to regular motion to kind of not so slow. So I'm trying to vary my speeds and understand that as well. But that's really where that's the techniques that I'm looking at and I'm developing as I shoot the cars more.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. All right. And then so I mean at this point then, for the filming and uh, the stuff that the tracks that you've had before and stuff that we've spoken about, like how many slot cars do you actually have?
I'm a little bit of a collector now.
Yeah.
So it's really funny. When I started collecting, I didn't know what I wanted. Like I just started buying cars, as I'd transitioned away from my performance shop. I miss racing a lot. Miss cars. I used to be around cars all the time. And when I say I was around cars, I was around 1,200 horsepower cars, 1,600 horsepower cars. I was around like big engine cars, made a lot of noise, and I missed that. I love the smell of racing fuel, stuff like that. Smell of burning rubber. I missed all of that. And this kind of it was kind of taken away from me. I didn't. It wasn't like I left it on my own accord.
Okay.
I developed Menares, and the doctor said that I put the car on the wall at a 200 kilometers an hour, and the doctor said that was it. I had to stop. My family said I had to stop, and so it was kind of taken away from me. So when I came back to slot cars, the speed was amazing, but capturing that speed and encapsulating that was what excited me. And then the cars excited me because now I could own a Huracan and I could own a 911 RSR. Yeah, they're this small, they're 1/32nd scale, but I was owning a piece of racing history, right? Every time I bought it. So I just went bananas, right? And then Ernie, I said to Ernie, I remember when I spoke to Ernie for the first time, I was like, yeah, I want to collect slot cars. He's like, how many cars do you think? I was like, about 500. He's like, no, true collector has over 1,000. That's what Ernie put in my head. I needed 1,000 cars to become a true collector, right?
Okay.
Um, and obviously over time, I understand that that is not reality. Not everyone has 1,000 cars, but he put that in my head, and I've had that number ever since. So my goal is to hit 1,000 cars.
Your goal is to hit 1,000 cars. Okay, so what are you? What are you at right now?
Right now, I'm around just over 570.
Okay.
I started with 37 in January of 2022, and today I have just over 570 cars.
Oh my god. What's the most expensive car? Like, what's the most you've ever spent on a car? Not the most expensive, but like, what's the most you?
$1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah,
God bless you, sir. God bless you.
actually, it's sitting right here.
Of course, you have it there.
Yeah, this car right here. It's not even. It's a scale auto, but it's race prepped. It's all done up. Ernie did everything to it.
Oh my god.
Sponge tires. Everything is redone on this. It's got wood guide. It's got engines. Everything.
That's amazing that you have that readily available. We did not do any prep besides sound check, and I just went over a few questions, just letting people know this was not set up. Rahul, you had that handy. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I have two of these guys.
Oh, and not just one, ladies and gentlemen, not just one, two.
Oh. I actually have another that's a shelf queen, but that one's a Viper, and that's because I actually owned the Viper at one point, and so I have the scale auto Viper, but it's got the biggest engine I could find, and I put it into it.
Oh my god.
So Ernie built it all up. It's all race prepped. It's got everything that you can possibly do to that. To that, it's got the 50K motor inside,
Wow.
and yeah, I've driven it only once and flew off the track. So,
No
and
kidding.
then I had to put it away. It was so weird because I think Massimo was there or someone. Yeah, I think Massimo was there when I put it on the track. He's like, put it on the track. You can't have a shelf clean. So I put it on the wood track at Ernie's, and sure enough, after the first bend, I accelerated and it just flew right off the track.
Oh
I
man.
thought I smashed it, but luckily everything was okay. And then I put it away.
Well, for the price you paid, I hope it could withstand a few crashes. I mean,
Yeah, well, I don't think that one's as expensive as these ones because these ones are more tuned. That one was
okay.
more nostalgic.
Oh,
But
awesome.
yeah, I mean, they're not like the 124 scale cars are not cheap cars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so and then once you upgrade them, they get pricey, right? Once you start adding things to them, like everything else, is like to me, it's the same as a mini Z car.
Okay.
A mini Z car is $350, and then you start adding all the hop ups and everything else. I come from RC world, right? I used to
Yeah.
race RCs.
Of course you did. Of course.
So
Let's just add that to the list.
yeah, because I used to race on the Tamiya circuit. So like, I had a team Losi and a Schumacher, and each one of them started at $5,000. So like I said, it gets crazy when you go deep. Um,
Yeah. No.
and racing is even worse, right? Rail car racing gets
So
even crazier.
perfect.
So
We're going right into my next few questions and some stuff that we had touched upon while we were speaking through previous chats and before I contacted you. Racing. What you were part of an actual racing league? Like I'm talking about real
yeah,
cars. Okay. What league was that?
the Canadian Sport Compact Series,
Canadian Sport Compact
CSCS in
Series.
short. Yeah,
Okay.
CSCS.
When did you get into that?
It's amateur, so it's not like professional or anything, but we had our own teams. So the way it's set up is it's like, you register for the CSCS, and your car goes in and you tech in and you fall under the three different brackets. And depending on that, you race against those guys in time attack. It's got much bigger now. They do wheel to wheel and racing now as well. But I had to leave before that time.
Okay. So how long were you racing for then? How many years was?
The question you should really ask is how I got into it.
Okay.
So, like I said, in 2000, believe 2006, 2006,
Okay.
I
2006.
bought
You're
I
how old at
bought
this point?
you want to know my age?
No, if you don't want to say it, it's
I'm
fine.
I'm 50 right now. So, yeah. Yeah, people, everybody looks at me like that. But yeah, so I'm 50 years old. So, like I said, in 2006, I don't know, so like 30 something, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't think about it. But in 2006, I bought my first. I bought a Viper truck. It was SRT10 Viper
Okay.
truck, and I had a friend. She was actually part of Sweetie Girl Racing, and they were having a track day. And when I bought my truck, she's like, "You should bring that truck out to the track." So I was like, "Sure," and I joined up for the track day. And Ian Law, I don't know if you know Ian Law, but he's very big. He's like a big, um, I guess, racing guru kind of
Okay.
in Canada. He runs his own driving school, track driving school, etc. So I went out, and Ian Law was running this track school for the day. So went out with my big ass truck, was 6,700 pounds, pickup truck with a Viper engine, and I went to this track. I went to a track day with my truck. I was the only truck on the track that day. Um, and the guy, I remember the instructor, because you have to go out with the instructor, was a Cayuga. And he's like, I was praying that I got into your car today.
You
He's
know.
like, it's so exciting to be in this big truck. And I raced and I put that truck through its paces. Actually, I melted the cooling lines of that truck and I warped the rotors in that
Oh my.
one day.
And that one day.
But I got the bug and I was hooked. I was hooked. But I didn't know any way into racing, right? So, kind of, I went to a couple more track days. Actually, I joined Ian Law's driving school and did about 400 or 500 hours of driving, racing. So, learning how to drive. I got an Integra Type R,
Nice.
Honda, and I did that up, and that was my first race car. And that's what I raced. But I was never into four bangers or front wheel drive, or so I knew I wanted a V8, and I wanted to race V8. So that's how I started. I got into it. I remember putting that Integra on the track. I just bought it, and the guy had winter tires on it, and I took it to Cayuga and I put it on the track, and I made those. You know how the threads in the tires? I made them stack up to one side. Like when I wrecked the tires on it completely because by the end of the day, like the threads had mounted onto one side, so it was like, yeah,
Oh, well, of
it was
course.
down to the bare metal but I drove it like
So as
crazy.
Canadian, for the majority part, all Canadians know winter tires are softer tires to handle the colder weather. For any American viewers who don't get winter, yeah, winter tires are not as hard as summer tires are all season. So this is why this makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they handled the heat because there is a heat rating and a speed rating on winter tires.
Exactly. So well, I destroyed the tires, so
Yeah.
there were no.
So you
I
were
had to
making
replace all
smart
four.
decisions. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, always. I always make smart decisions. Yeah, and then I joined a racing team. I joined ART Motorsports.
Okay.
They were constantly competing on the CSCS. I just got a brand new 2014 SRT Charger, Dodge Charger, 6.4 liter. I went to see. I met the racing team. One of the leaders was Pat, and I'd gone to him to get my exhaust, straight pipe, kind of straight pipe, uh, Charger. And he's like, "What are you doing with this car?" I said, "I want to get into racing." He's like, "Oh, you should come and join us." And so I joined ART Motorsports, and
Nice.
yeah, I
What
did my first race with them on the CSCS circuit,
what
and
are the
that's how I got in.
prerequisites then? Like I know you're saying you're
Uh,
joining, but like what did you not have to go through a checklist?
well, you have to have track days, right? Like, so I already had my 400 hours of of tra of racing, like under Ian Law. I'd already done all my track time driving.
Okay.
You have to have basic track knowledge, otherwise they'll black flag you on your entry run, and then you can't race.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so I took, and I asked Pat. I remember when I went for my first run. I'll never forget the day I did my first run because I got into the car, I strapped in, I was wearing the helmet, and Pat was supposed to come with me because I never raced the DDT in counterclockwise racing. I'd never done it before,
Okay.
and that's what they were racing on the first time with CSS. I'd raced DDT, the driver development training track at More Sport. That's what
Okay.
it's called, DDT. I'd raced it clockwise all day long. I'd raced it many, many, like many times, But just so happened the first day I go to CSCS, they're racing counterclockwise.
Oh shoot.
So I was like, I don't know the lines, I don't know what to do, I don't know my breakpoints. So Pat's like, I'll come with you, and I was like, okay, make me feel better. Last minute, he's like, just go.
Oh man.
And so I go, and because it was hot, I remember it was so hot. I'd opened the sunroof, I tilted it up. I got black and blue flag. I got so many flags that my first run, not black flag, but I got so many flags. Got like failure to allow people to pass,
Oh man.
because I was so like nervous. My heart was in my mouth. I was pounding. I put the my car into the dirt, like everything. Like I did everything wrong you could possibly do on my first run ever. And I came off and I was like so disappointed and so upset at myself. And I remember Pat says, "Welcome to racing." He's like, "Now you're ready to begin."
Oh
And
man.
that was my journey, and that's how I started, and then I got hooked. And yeah, over time, I built my own race cars from scratch to my specifications, wide bodied, everything. Yeah.
And obviously following the Canadian guidelines, right? Like you had a guideline for cars, or they didn't care. What were the?
Well, yeah. So basically, if you went in with, like I said to you, the tech in your car at the beginning of each session.
Okay.
At the tech in, it depends on which. If they call you, I think it's like I forget all the words now. Like I forget all the classifications, but basically, there's a basic where it's like you bought a car at a dealership and you just want to race it. Like you bought a Type or like a Civic Type R, which is like a race car, and you brought it to the track. They'll put you in stock class, right?
Okay.
And then they go to super stock, and then they go to open plus or something. So I always race super stock because my cars were not I didn't have a full roll cage in my car ever. I had full interior. I didn't have weight stripped down or anything. So I raced always in super stock,
Okay.
which was above stock because I had like suspension, anti-roll systems, all that put in place. Like I'd done all the mechanicals. I had like R tires, which are racing tires, and so one step above stock. So that's what I raced.
Okay.
But I
What's
was
the
racing.
fastest? I gotta interrupt you. What's the fastest you've gone? I know there's technical parts, so
Oh,
we're not racing fast, but like what's?
so it depends on the track. The biggest track that we have in Ontario is Moorsport, which is the Canadian Motorsports track complex. On that track, I've gone about 275 kilometers per hour on the back straight. Um, I think the fastest I've hit is on with my Hellcat. My Hellcat that I had 960 to the rear wheel, so
Holy
it's
cow.
1200 at the crank. Um, and I think that one, I did a quarter mile in 9.2 seconds. So that was full interior. I didn't even have race fuel in at that point. It was on. Actually, I have to run some video somewhere. But yeah, that car was really fast, and I don't really know the speedometers. I have some videos where people clock me at 300 plus. So
That's
yeah,
amazing. I never thought I'd be starting this hobby and getting to talk with somebody who actually raced in Canada. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
this is really cool. Like you're talking and I'm like, yeah. I did one lap, a few laps. My wife got me a birthday gift to drive a Ferrari at iCar here in Mirabel, and they throw you in a Ferrari, and obviously the driver's next to you. They show you the lines, whatever. I got to do 5 6 laps because it was COVID, and there was it was like a limited thing, but that was I got a video of it, and it's just whatever. But like to get to talk to you that you did this as a hobby or full time. Like, what are the prizes at this point? What are you getting as
I never won anything. So I wouldn't know. I was never an elite driver in the CSCS because, like I said, CSCS is really meant for the small sport complex, and I was bringing a full size sedan
okay?
to the racing. But
Okay,
but like my competition in the superstar would be Honda S2000 and a Miata with with a Corvette engine in it or something like that.
holy
So
cow!
I was racing against things like that could corner quicker, but it was really funny. It was fun to keep up with them, if you know what I mean. Like, so
Yeah,
my job wasn't to win anything because I was driving a 4,200 pound Dodge Charger, wide bodied, against like a Honda S2000 fully tuned. There's no way I'm gonna beat that car on a small track. But give me more sport, my car has gone up against 911 RSRs and kept up with them, if not beaten them. I've actually had people very frustrated with me coming off more sport, saying, I don't know what you got in that car, but I can't shake you. Like because I got really confident at more sport. And once you learn the track and you know your trigger points on any track, you can get really fast,
Oh
right?
my god.
And you lose the fear. Wow, you get more confident. As you get more confident, you can push the limits, and that's when you start to crash, right? Like that's when they say once you've hit the wall, you become a race car driver, right? Because
You
before that, you're not really.
you don't
It's once you hit the wall and you come back, you become a race car driver.
because you know
And I
your
did hit the
limits.
wall and I
Yeah.
come back. And so they say you know your limits.
Is
You've gone beyond that limit.
but your team, like when you're part of that team, was it just um like the point structure or anything? They were like, no, race what you want, and
Well, my
or
team,
was it all
let's
for
be honest.
advertising?
Yeah, so it's Canadian Sport Compact Series, not like a real race series. Like it's not like I don't know, like a GT race series, right?
Okay.
This is all amateur people, but serious amateurs, right? Where they built race cars. Like these cars are coming off trailers and stuff, right? They are
Okay.
fully blown, well-built race cars that are being brought to an organized track day. Well, let's just call it an organized track day, where there is, they are big prizes, like I never podium. I never say that I was good enough to podium or anything, but I was good enough to drive really well. I'm
Okay.
not saying I'm a good racer. I don't know, right? I just know I was part of this bigger racing organization,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a good part of it. Like the members of my team, uh, some of them were really good race cars, and we had really good race cars. And I believe like they come first, second, or third in their category. So we did have people that won.
Why'd you
And
stop?
I got diagnosed with Meniere's.
You
So
want to tell us a bit about that? Is that okay?
Meniere's is infection of the inner ear, which is uncurable. It causes vertigo. It gives you bouts of dizziness, and you lose track of your bearings. And I had an episode on track, and I hit the wall with the car. And it was early in the morning. It was a practice run. There's not a lot of people there. And I came around the last corner, and the world just spun. And the next thing I knew, I was facing the wall. I yanked the steering wheel. I had enough mind because I was going head first into the wall.
Oh,
I
wow.
pulled the wheel. I remember because I tore the serratus muscles, and I hit the whole car slid sideways into the wall, side impact. Everything went off. Like I said, I flew interior, so all the airbags went off and everything went off. This is not a race car with roll cages and stuff, right? Um, and yeah, that was it. Um, I did race after that. I did go for two more track days when I put the car back together and I rebuilt the car. And I did shake it out of my system. So I did go back and I did pull like crazy runs with that car again. But that was my goodbye because I'd already been told I shouldn't be doing this anymore. So, and then I sold my performance shop, I sold the cars, sold everything.
You were told when you were diagnosed. After that, you were told you shouldn't
I
be
wasn't,
racing, and
no, they didn't diagnose me to stop and told me to stop racing. They told me to stop racing after I hit the wall.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so they said it's well, a family got worried. Everybody gets worried. I had a young daughter. I had what we would call maybe a family intervention, and they asked me to stop, and so I stopped. And then I couldn't be around it, so I got rid of everything that reminded me of it. So both my race cars, all my Hellcats, everything. I got rid of all of my toys. And then I bought new toys in
yeah.
terms of 132nds and 124s. So
There
here
you
we
go.
are.
And that's how you started your journey um, into your tabletop board gaming. Like this is
Oh,
happening
I was
after.
always a tabletop board
Okay.
gaming. Actually, 2021,
Okay.
I officially retired from gaming completely.
Okay.
I
And
had, I had given up gaming when I was racing,
okay.
and then after racing, to fill the void, I went back to gaming. But then I went into a depression and everything else. And yeah, Mineris has a lot of side effects, and then on top of that, giving up everything you love had more side effects. And yeah, so I had to pull myself through all of that.
Is slot cars um, at this point helping you fill that void? Like obviously you love racing still and all that stuff, and is slot cars helping you cope with that?
I don't miss. I That's a tough question to answer because I don't think I'll ever fill that void. Um, I think slot cars give me an escape. I don't think I'd still be doing slot cars if it wasn't for the community. How's that for an answer? I think the community actually make gives fills that void for me. Having the connections with people like Pete. I'll be very honest, like Pete out of the UK, Track Fans TV, he's a very close friend to me. And we get to talk about a lot of things that maybe I don't talk about very openly. And I think that's what fills the void for me. And he's a really genuine person that really understands me without me saying much. And I think that's special. Maybe that's what keeps me going.
That's awesome to
The
have.
cars, they come and they go. Like I don't. I could lose all my slot cars tomorrow, and I don't think. But if I lost my relationship with Pete, I think that would hurt the most. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's it. All makes sense, man. It's your story, and I appreciate you sharing that. Um, let's let's maybe start wrapping this up a bit, and I just want to ask you about well, first of all, that was a crazy journey, and again, thank you for sharing that. I'm still because I was not prepared for this. We had my questions, and we said it takes us where it takes us. I had permission from you to ask you personal questions, so again I appreciate that. I'm sure the audience is appreciating that as well. Um, let's wrap this up with a back to a slot car question. It's like a two-part question. One, um, what innovation in slot cars would you like to see, as far as something that you wish the slot car community or manufacturers would do, or some sort of new technology that would just enhance your experience? What is it that you would like to see in the future of slot cars?
See, I don't put onus on the manufacturers.
Okay, I'm
Yeah, I
just saying
learned
because
in
that's where we get it from,
wargaming.
right?
I'll start. I'll go back to wargaming. There's a time Games Workshop is one of the biggest producers
Yes.
of models today. But do you know that they almost declared bankruptcy? They almost went out of business. And the reason for that was it was stretched too thin because they were trying to do too much. They opened up these big stores. They were running their tournaments, and everybody relied on them. All of us war gamers, we relied on them to do everything for us. Provide the tracks, provide the cars. At the end of the day, Games Workshop did the best thing that they could do, which was pull it all away and say we are the manufacturer of models and we are the manufacturer of a game system. If you guys want to make tournaments and guys want to do that, you have to run your own. In the beginning, everyone was in an uproar, but then we rallied together as a hobby community and built standardization. You ask me why the GRL exists? It comes from a wargaming background where I believe that if you want to create a standardized system of racing, then it has to start from us, not from the manufacturer level.
Mm-hmm.
It's great that maybe they run races. It's great that some of the hobby stores do it, but the hobbyists themselves have to do it. and they have to standardize everything. And if they want to grow internationally, then you have to do it a standard way that everyone can do it the same way. And that's the whole objective of the GRL,
Okay.
right?
That's the Global Racing
Now,
League for anybody who's watching this for the first time. Rahul
yeah,
runs that. You can check it out. Globalracingleague.com, I believe.
scgrl.com,
scgrl.com. If you
yeah,
guys haven't seen that before.
right? And yeah, so I mean, what you asked me about innovation, I say I'm I'm happy just seeing new cars, new bodies, new molds. I'm happy. I don't I don't need, like I said to you, like to me a new car is a new car. I pick it up, I'll race it. I love it. Um, I don't. I maybe I'm not, because I'm not a racer. I'm not a slot car racer. I don't have a racing hobby. Like I'm not that much into the racing hobby side of things. I don't really ask for anything more. I just like the cool cars, so they're doing well. Like I'm excited for Scalata this year. I'm excited for Carrera this year. I'm loyal to brands that I love, and I just go with the flow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, like I was saying before, you basically answered the second question to my two-part question. You've been doing that all night. I've been like going over my notes, like, okay, he got that, he got that, he got that. I didn't even have to ask him. This has been one of the smoothest and interviews I've done so far, being the second one, I guess. Not saying Massimo wasn't smooth; he was great. Um, but I've had a blast talking to you. It's been very informative. Thank you again for sharing. That was a lot of personal information. Um, I just, no words at that point because that's something really, really personal. And this is, what my goal for this channel for Beyond the Slot is to not to get everyone to go into so personal details, but to get to know the people behind the slots and get to know the community and people watching from the YouTube and saying, hey man, that guy looks like a cool guy. Like when I saw you, like when I met Massimo introduced me to you, and then this opened up a whole other level, like layers, like Ogre have layers, slot car
Yeah.
community has layers. And
Yeah.
this has been great. I just want to thank you for your time. Is there anything you want to say to your viewers or your subscribers
Thank you.
to sign off? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm humbled and honored that people follow me. I'm not a big channel. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever be a big channel, but I'm honored by the people that follow me right now, and I always surprised that I have so many people that actually follow what I do. But I just keep on shooting cars. That's my goal. That's my objective. That's what I want to bring to the table. So that's it.
All right,
Yeah.
man. That was great.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
No
Thank
problems.
you again for watching. This has been Raul Pereira, like Joe Herrera. I love your last name. It's great. Everyone have a great night. Thanks again for checking in on the channel. We'll catch you in the next one. Take
See you
care.
guys.